Thank you all for being here, both virtually and in person tonight. I'm very excited to be here to talk about this important topic and really how to initiate that foundation of inclusion at work. Over the last 12 years, I've been an employment specialist, which is really just a fancy word for a job coach, right? Helping people with disabilities to find and maintain reasonable or meaningful employment throughout the state of Florida. Working with individuals and working with employers is something that I've been doing to help them, whether that's being successful at work, through the job interview, post-employment, through negotiations, you name it. Our organization at the Grow Group is something that we do on a day-to-day basis, working with our clients to help them with that meaningful employment. So today, based on my experience these last 12 years, I'm going to be talking about accommodations first, then awareness, and then that allyship at work. All of these are the basis of that foundation that we're going to be discussing. So who am I? I'm the director of the Grow Group, a nonprofit organization in Tampa, Florida. We help individuals, as I mentioned, for marginalized populations with finding and retaining that meaningful employment throughout the state of Florida. We help both big box employers and small business owners with workforce development and DEI initiatives. So for the last 12 years, as I mentioned, all of that is a fancy word for job coaches, right? We're here, we're in your corner, we're here to help you on the job to maintain that employment or to find meaningful employment. So what are we discussing tonight? You've heard a lot of people talk about accommodations so far this evening. You've heard a lot about awareness, how to talk about your disability, and then also those supports, right? Those networks of supports that you heard Sadie talk about, how important that was to create those networks or to work with different people like a job coach in your corner. So we're going to be discussing all those things and how we can put them together to create that inclusive foundation. So starting first with accommodations, and there are links in my presentation, so you should be able to access those links after this and have access to these slides as well. So accommodations, we've all used them before. I mean, I used one this morning with a stool trying to reach something on the top shelf, right? That stool helped me get up to something I couldn't reach. We download apps to help us learn languages or to communicate with each other. All of those are different accommodations, right? But for a person with a disability, that accommodation is that missing piece, right? It's that piece that can help them perform those essential functions of the job that they need to do and they need to do successfully. So one of my favorite resources that I use with my clients is Ask Jan, and Jan stands for that Job Accommodation Network. You can go right into this website and it'll navigate to a specific disability. So say you identify with autism. And I believe if you click on this link, it'll take you directly to that page for autism. And in that page, it'll tell you all about that disability. It'll tell you, what are some of the ways that people with autism might communicate, or people that identify as autistic or neurodivergent, how they communicate, what are some accommodations that they might need. And then it also takes it a step further to even include links to those accommodations where you can purchase those things, right? So when we think about accommodations, a lot of people automatically go to like, oh, I have to provide an accommodation. Looks like I've got to build a ramp, right? Or it looks like this person's going to need an elevator, or they're going to have to take frequent breaks, right? Yes, those are examples of accommodations, but an accommodation could be something as small as those noise canceling headphones that we talked about, right? It also could be that you work in your own office by yourself so that there's not a lot of distraction. It could be dimming the lights because maybe the lights are too much for you and they are distracting as well, right? So those accommodations aren't necessarily these big, massive changes that you're asking the employer to make. It could be something from an individual's perspective where they can purchase or provide those things on their own. And this website definitely does a great job of helping us to see what's out there. Technology changes all the time. We're at a cybersecurity conference. I mean, I'm not up here to talk about technology. I'm probably have the least expertise in the room, but this website has really helped in finding different ways that we can accommodate. So one of the biggest questions that people that I work with, my clients, ask me about accommodations and when they can ask for them. They always say, Sashy, I don't know when to ask for this accommodation at work. I don't want to get discriminated against. I don't want to seem like I'm being too much. How do I do this? Is it pre-job offer? Is it post-job offer? When's the best time? And in general, first of all, it's always case by case basis. Everybody's different. Everybody's disability is different. What you need is going to be very different from the person sitting next to you, right? So in general, I will say that I typically will work with my clients to work during that post-job offer phase and say, let's take a look at the scope of employment, right? What are your job requirements? Because you may have already worked it up in your head that you need a sit down, stand down desk, you need new lights, you need noise canceling headphones, you need to work by yourself. And then you look at this job offer and you're like, oh, I get all of that. The employer is going to give me headphones already. I'm already going to be able to work by myself in my own cubicle, right? These are things that you might not even have to ask for, right? So rather than asking for them before you even got the job or even had a chance to take a look at what your day-to-day tasks are going to be, we take a moment, we look at that scope of work, and we do our own needs assessment and say, what do I need as an individual, or what is this individual going to need to be successful on the job? Then based off that, we go back to our trusty friend, Ask Jan, and we say, hey, what are some things that are available to us now that we can purchase? Can I go to Amazon and buy this? Can I go to Walmart and get this? I had a client recently that was in a wheelchair, and part of his job was to hang signs. That was not in the job description or anything. And we had to figure that out quickly. And what we found was at Walmart for $5, they sold this cane for elderly people that had a little sticker thing on the end of it. So he could now pick up the signs with the cane and slap them on the wall about 6 feet high for $5. We never had to ask the employer. No one questioned him for it at all. And it worked out beautifully. He could perform the essential tasks or functions of that job, right? So taking a step back and looking at that scope of work and seeing, are those accommodations that you need to provide for yourself? Are they things you can get on your own? Can your job coach or a support system, family member or friend, can they help you achieve those accommodations? Now, if it's something bigger, like say a stand down or a stand up, sit down desk, something that might be a little intrusive, obviously not everybody at work has those same desks as you might need, or you might have to take frequent breaks, then that's something that we definitely need to talk to the employer about, right? Or if you need the employer to provide those things for you, then again, that's something that we need to talk to the employer about. And we're going to get into your rights and those resources available to you when you're requesting those accommodations, because that's important to know. But my next question that I always get asked is, okay, we figured out what I need. I know that I need this stand up, sit down desk, right? How do I go in now and ask for that? Because I can't afford it. I'm not going to be able to purchase it. Now I need to ask the employer for it, right? So the best thing that you can do is to create that awareness, right? To inform that employer about your needs in order to perform those essential functions of the job. But the only way that you can really plead your case or talk to that employer or let them know that this is your right and this is a part of accommodation that you need in order to do your job after you've gotten that job offer, right, is to inform them of your disability. So two different things: requesting an accommodation and now disclosing disability. So we're going to get into that. So creating that awareness for your employer and for yourself. First and foremost, know as much as possible about your disability as you possibly can. Do the research. Know what accommodations you need. Know what your triggers are. Know what your stimulations are that you can use to calm you down. Know what those actions are that you need to take in order for you to do your job effectively. Think back to school. What are some things that you did in school to help you take tests? What are some things that your parents did for you at home to help you be successful at home or at school or in sports and in clubs or organizations you were a part of? Know all of those things ahead of time. Know what accommodations, right? You did that needs analysis. You looked at that job, that scope of employment, and said, okay, I know I'm going to need X, Y, and Z. So you're prepared. You know where to buy them. You know what they are that you need. And now you're going to discuss it. So kind of two options for discussing it is, again, this is very general. It's case by case. Everybody's different. But if I was going to just give you some general help on when to disclose your disability in an interview, one is, I always say, to present it as your strength and not your weakness. Right? So a perfect example of this is your strength. If you are neurodivergent, say you identify as being autistic, your strength might be, according to Jen, that you pay significant attention to detail. You'll never forget, and you're very diligent and very serious. You might tell the employer, I identify as somebody that is autistic, and for me as a strength, that means that I will definitely pay attention to detail. I promise you I'll never miss a deadline, and I guarantee you that I can recite word for word the phone conversation that we had last week. So I'm not going to forget that email that you sent me at 7:00 last night, right? A weakness, though, for me as somebody with autism, and again, I'm role playing, is that I might not pick up on that sarcasm or those social cues, right? I might need more straightforward direction and communication if you give me a task. But aside from that, you can count on me to get it done. Moving on. right? When we're identifying or disclosing that disability to employer, it's not our opportunity to go down this rabbit hole of saying, okay, well, it first started, when I was born, I was diagnosed, my mom said, okay, I had to go to the doctor. They're not interested in hearing the whole pathway of how you got to where you were today. I mean, if they ask you, great, but this is not your opportunity to sit there and discuss all the things that maybe happened to you or what your needs are or your accommodation requests. None of that. What you're here to do is to show them that you're erasing that stigma, that you have the ability to do this job, that yes, maybe you might need a couple of accommodations or little things here and there, but that you can check all the boxes and maybe even more, and that you deserve a fair shot. So we need to focus on those strengths. Okay. What are those strengths of your disability? What are the things, if you've got ADHD, right? If that is that your flavor, right, Stephanie? You have ADHD, but guess what? You're on it, you're getting it done, you're going to be faster than everybody else, right? You might have to take a couple breaks in between that, but guess what? You'll still be done by 3 o'clock and everybody will still be punching the clock at 5. Okay. So really harp on those strengths. If you're disclosing post-job offer, right, and you're determining that you might need accommodations or you might need extra support, this is a good opportunity to do so during your onboarding, right? So a lot of times when you get hired on a job, they send you right to HR. In the virtual world, it's probably through an email, which is even better because now you can have it in writing and say, hey, I'm very excited about this job opportunity. I do want to talk to you a little bit about some accommodation needs I have. I'm happy to provide more information about my disability, right? Okay, now this is post-job offer. You have it in writing. You're submitting requests formally. You're letting the human resources person know about what your needs might be. If there's not an HR department, it's a smaller organization. If they have less than 15 employees, and they're technically not required by law to provide accommodations. However, like I said, if you did that research and maybe there's some things on there that you can get for yourself, great. If not, and they can provide it for you in an inexpensive way and something that's not really intrusive, then that's something that you can talk to them about. But you've got to share that information with them, right? If you're working with a job coach, and you're working, say, with vocational rehabilitation, or you've hired a private job coach, or you have an advocate or a counselor or somebody on your support team that can work with you and go in and speak with that employer, then it's also a good opportunity for you to do that during that onboarding process, right? Have them come to HR with you. If you're still not comfortable, you still really don't know what to say to them, great time to bring in your job coach to talk to HR. All right, so moving right along, and I can't see the clock. So just gotta give me, Steph, I'll let you tell me when time is getting close. For awareness, other resources for the job seeker. So these are some websites. Again, these slides will be available to you. Abilities Work has a plethora of information from disability rights to accommodations to just different opportunities and resources for the job seeker and also for the employer. Vocational Rehabilitation is an agency that I work closely with. They are federally and state funded, so typically free to the individual or the job seeker that's seeking employment. This is where you'll get assigned a VR counselor, and then that VR counselor will determine your needs and help you to become employment ready. They can also provide those accommodations for no cost for you. So if it is, say, that desk that you need to sit down and stand up, that's something that I've seen VR provide at no cost to the job seeker on site to the employer. They've also worked with local universities like University of South Florida. They worked with their rehab engineers to come in and actually modify a workstation for a person with a disability. I actually had them work with a client who was a quadriplegic and he was an architect, and they installed a mouse on his baseball cap right on the front lid, and he was able to draw all of his AutoCAD designs as an architect through the hat that the rehab engineers had created. So really cool resources out there for accommodations. You just got to know who to go to, and these websites, these links are really great resources for that. Disability Rights Florida, here in Florida, this is a great website if you feel like you might have some questions about discrimination, you might have some questions about employment law. Again, I'm not an attorney, I'm not an employment lawyer, I can't give you all the statutes and codes, but this is a wonderful website to go to get with somebody that can. They can offer one-on-one consultations as well. It's not on here, but ODEP, the Office of Disability Employment Policy, I believe it stands for, those acronyms, right? If you go on their website too, they also offer that one-on-one consultation in terms of accommodation needs. So they can talk to you or the employer about what accommodations you might need. And then the ADA, this is American with Disabilities Act. This website has all of the legal information you could possibly want. In there is included is a job coach as an accommodation. So if you have a job coach, you can see right there that we're considered reasonable accommodations to come in and help you with that meaningful employment and retaining that employment. And then last, I wanted to include this for the federal workforce recruitment. I know a lot of you work federally or have worked federally in the past for the government. And if you're interested in working for the government, say you're a student in school right now, and this is something of interest to you in the future, this website talks a lot about a Schedule A letter. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with that or what that is, but a Schedule A letter is a letter that federal companies that are contracted federally, so they have a contract with the government, are required to hire a certain percentage of people with disabilities on staff for employment. And a lot of times, in order to show that they've done that, they will show these Schedule A letters, or they request these Schedule A letters from the job seeker. And that just discloses your disability with your job application. So this website, this federal workforce recruitment, had a lot of really good information about that Schedule A letter, where you can get one, what it entails, and how to include it in your federal application for employment. Thought it was interesting to include that for you all. Okay. The last part of the talk that we're going to talk tonight is the allyship. So who can be a part of the allyship? And I'm mostly going to gear this towards employers, because I know that there's a lot of employers that are watching and that are listening tonight. But as part of this allyship, we have many people that can become an ally for a person with a disability or a neurodivergent. Number one, obviously the employer can really be the strongest ally. Your network, your counselor, your job coach, your mentor, those are allies. Your natural supports, your coworkers, people that you work with, people that you meet tonight at the conference, right, that you share something with, or friends and family. So all of this group is all a part of that allyship. So for the employers, all the employers in the audience, or those individuals that want to share some information with their employer, this is something that I would definitely share with them if you can, right? If you feel comfortable. But for the employer, what is the best way for an employer to become an ally? From an employer's perspective, because I am an employer myself, I can think of people on my team and all of their strengths and weaknesses. And I don't know if some of those strengths or weaknesses are disability related, or if they're just quiet quitting, right? Or if they don't want to work there anymore, or maybe it's a character flaw. I don't know, because they haven't disclosed it to me, right? So it's something that I kind of have to figure out on my own. Now, as an employer, I want you to think, if you had somebody sitting in front of you in a job interview that was brave enough and had the courage enough to tell you, hey, I have a disability, I'm neurodivergent, but let me tell you my strengths. And my strengths are that I can pay attention to detail, I will meet all your deadlines, and I will take everything that you say seriously and make sure that I get it done for you. I may not pick up on your jokes or your sarcasm or your social cues, but I promise I'll communicate effectively with any of your clients or customers, right? What a gift. As an employer, if somebody told me that in an interview, I would be blown away, right? So as an employer, prepare for that. Prepare for that disclosure in that interview, because if somebody's sitting in front of you and is brave enough to say that to you, you better have the courage to learn from that discomfort, right? You better be able to work with that individual and say, great, let's talk about that strength you just mentioned, and not harp on their disability, or not go into your own story about your son's cousin's uncle's son who also is neurodivergent. They don't want to hear it. They're here to get a job. It's a great way to connect maybe later. Absolutely. You guys want to talk about being neurodivergent? Great. Okay. But show that person that you heard what they said, and really talk about their strengths. So that could look like you saying, hey, I heard you paid attention to detail and really meet deadlines. Can you give me an example of that from your last position? Right. You're helping that individual to grow, and you're growing as well by doing that, focusing on their strengths and their abilities, and not their disability or their weakness, or what you're going to need to do to accommodate them. Okay. Then once you hire that person, because they're so incredible, you bring them on your staff, and now you need to be open and create a safe space for that person. But how do you do it? You don't go running to everybody and say, hey guys, we just hired somebody that's neurodivergent. Like, everybody be nice. We don't do that. And then you might have a lawsuit on your hands. Okay. So what do we want to do to create that safe space? So one great way is those EAPs, those employee assistance programs. Okay. And I also included a link in here too for those as well, if you're not familiar. But those are typically volunteer organizations within inside of your company or your business where people can come and they have mentors. Other individuals from the organization have volunteered to be a part of the EAP, to be as a support group, right? It's kind of an internal support group where the person doesn't necessarily have to run to HR with every issue. They don't necessarily have to run to the managers with every issue that they're having at work. They know that they have this support group at work that they can go to and talk to the people about the problem that they're having, right? They might be able to find those colleagues, like Sadie said, where you might be able to go to your EAP and be like, I'm having a really hard time with this noise in this office. As anybody else? And then somebody in that EAP support group says, yeah, me too. And then you both become that ally or the advocate for each other, like she said, where you maybe ask for noise canceling headsets for everybody, right? Or maybe you ask for more quiet of a workspace or moving to a different floor, right? Those are all examples of good accommodations. So creating that safe space as an employer is something that you can do internally. Doesn't typically cost extra, but it saves a lot of money. It'll save, there's statistics to prove, and I was going to include them, but I didn't want to bore you guys. I get excited. I don't think everybody else does, but there are statistics that prove that these EAPs save the employers a lot of money in the long run. They offer a lot more commitment from the employers, a lot less missed work time, right? Because the employer is excited to go to work and talk to their support group rather than missing work and having to go to a mental health session. Okay, so there's a lot of statistics on that. And like I said, I included a link where you can go and read those for yourself. Another way that an employer can be an ally is to communicate with the supports. So if I'm the liaison, I'm the job coach, and I come in to meet with that manager, I hope that manager will sit down and have a conversation with me so that I can continue to talk about the strengths and the abilities of the person that they just hired. And I'm also there as a liaison for the employer. What are the employer's needs? I want to know what their needs are. How can I help them as a job coach to help them to be successful and release this burden that they might feel of having to accommodate, or, or for the job seeker, maybe it's a burden on them. They don't know how to ask for those accommodations. Having a support like a job coach or an advocate to come in and talk to the employer is another way that the employer can create an allyship. So welcoming those job coaches to come into the work environment privately or publicly, welcoming the advocate to come in and speak with the manager, having the phone call with the parent or the family member to say, hey, John might not have mentioned this, but he really gets ticked off every time AC/DC plays. So please don't make sure you don't play that in the office. I'm just giving you a heads up, right? So those are some things that you will never know because maybe that individual is too embarrassed or afraid to disclose it, but they're okay with the support doing that. And make sure you have that agreement that the job seeker is okay with the support coming in and disclosing those things. Consulting with industry experts. So this is something that I love. It's something that I do in my organization often. We bring in industry experts all the time. For example, we had somebody come in last year that was an expert in epilepsy and seizures. And I've worked with a lot of clients that have seizures. And I'll tell you what, in this 1 hour presentation that she gave, I learned so much. And like I said, I've been doing this for 12 years. I thought, okay, here we go, a seizure presentation. I'm sure I could probably do this for her. But then sitting through this presentation, I realized, oh my goodness, there's so much that has changed. And that's another thing, right? Bringing in these industry experts, bringing in people to come in and talk to your organization and the people that work for you about these different types of disabilities and how to become a natural support on the job or how to help that person with that disability. It changes all the time. Disabilities change all the time. We get new disabilities that come up, some go away, some tactics work for one where others don't work for the other, right? You could save somebody's life by doing this to this person or kill somebody by doing it to that person, right? So you don't know. We don't know. We're not the experts. So bringing in those industry experts, let them be the ones to teach your employees so that they can feel better and more comfortable about being a natural support. And then lastly, talking to your team about DEI. What does diversity, equity, inclusion look like from a disability perspective, right? How do you become a natural support at work? How can you be a good coworker to somebody that has a disability? A good example of that is if somebody, again, I'll use like the height, but I had a client that couldn't reach up high on a shelf, but the other client or the other coworker, his natural support on the job, was able to do that. So they just switched tasks. There was no big deal. She said, I'll get the bottom shelf, or you get the bottom shelf, I'll get the top shelf, and we'll just switch tasks, right? That's a natural support. If you have trouble with emailing, maybe your coworker can help you draft that email. That's a natural support, right? People with disabilities need that, and sometimes they need even more. So how can you become that? So talking to your team about what they can do to be not only a team player with everybody, but going that extra mile for somebody that might lean on them for it. And then identifying those unconscious biases, right? We all have that unconscious bias. We've all taken these assessments. Hopefully, if you haven't, it's something that I absolutely say is a great tool to implement in your organization amongst your friends, your family members. You might have a heated conversation, but it's a good one, right? We're having a conversation at least. We're creating that awareness about what our biases might be and how they can be different now and how we can change those. All right, I don't know where I'm at on time, but here are some links to some resources. We have the first one on here is one of my favorite. It's Earn. Okay, so this is the Employment Resource Network. So the Employer Assistance Resource Network. This website has a plethora of information for employers. So a lot of time employers ask that question like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. What's politically incorrect? What's politically correct? What accommodations am I supposed to provide? Which ones are they supposed to provide themselves? All of those type of things, right? This website has all of that and more. So it's a great tool for employers. It can also serve as a tool to find candidates as well. The second one is the ADA myths and facts. So this one I love as well. This is directly from the federal government's website that it will break it down. So it kind of erases those stigmatism for the employer, the stigma from the employer that when they're afraid, maybe a lot of times it comes from a fear where they're not sure, okay, what type of accommodations should I be okay with supplying? Which ones are considered, outside of my scope? Which ones, what can I say to a person with a disability? What can I not say? So this is a really good breakdown of those myths versus facts, helping to erase that stigma. Developing an employee assistance program. Again, I said I would include this for you all. And this is a great tool to see how to do that within your own organization and also those statistics of why it's such a great idea. Number 4 is vocational rehabilitation. So again, that organization that I work with, they have a lot of resources on their website for employers to look for candidates for employment, to post job openings that you might have. It's also great for the job seeker, like I mentioned, to go on there and see what resources are available for you in your state. And this is in every state. It's a federal and state run program. And then DEI consulting. So CORE is a program that my organization does. And we will go into any employer and do a needs analysis, help you to work on creating those natural supports or EAPs within your organization, to look and see how we can train your staff on working with people with disabilities. And again, helping you as an organization to create that foundation of inclusion. And my last slide, and I'll leave you with this tonight. I know we're close to time. I'm going to leave some time for question and answers. But a network of allyship includes your counselor. It can include your job coach, your mentor, your natural support, friends and family. So maybe you're somebody here tonight or somebody that's listening that doesn't identify as neurodivergent, but you want to be an ally. So I wanted to include those steps for you too, and how you can become an ally for a person with a disability. Number 1 is talking to them about it, right? Like Stephanie said, like you're going to hear it from them. Ask them the questions, listen, be an ear for them. Okay, hear them out. Ask them about their strengths and weaknesses. Ask them about their struggles and how you might be able to help support them. Helping them prepare for employment, right? So maybe they need some interview prep. What's better than calling a sister, a friend, a brother, a job coach, a mentor to help you prepare for that interview? Or if you're having issues with coworkers, be that phone a friend for them where they can call you or text you while they're at work and say, what do I say in this situation? I have no idea what they're talking about, right? Help remove barriers or advocate. So if they can't afford maybe those accommodations, maybe it's something you can help them get. Maybe you can do a GoFundMe. Maybe you can ask people at work or post and look on Facebook Marketplace for them, right? Helping them find those things that they need. Going in and talking to employers that you know or employers that you work for and asking them about their accommodations that they have in place, finding more information about that from local employers and sharing it with friends and family members. Getting involved in the community. So a lot of times people with disabilities, we've kind of talked about how they can go from, working, especially in cybersecurity, they're working from home all day. They may not have seen a person in months, right? Get them out in the community, invite them out to those networking events. Maybe they're looking for a job and they haven't found one and they're at home depressed, but they're letting you know everything's fine, right? Get them out, go with them, take them to a networking event, take them to a job fair. Even if you're working, just be someone that can be there to go with them. I know I don't like to go to networking events by myself, so I can't imagine if I was somebody that identified as neurodivergent having to go by myself. Having an ally or friend to go with would make all the difference in the world. And then lastly, provide the resources and information. So please share away all of the stuff that I shared with you today. All of it's free online. I also included my contact information and my QR code and my website as well for my organization, the Grow Group. Feel free to call or text me. I don't work in cybersecurity, so I will not respond at midnight when you all are up working. All right. So please don't text me then. But during normal business hours, it's fine. You can also shoot me an email. I'm pretty responsive on there. So thank you very much.